It's episode 664 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, I'm talking about why it's past time Josh Jung is called up, looking ahead at the Tigers series this weekend, and a Rangers nemesis, Julio Rodriguez, is going to be a Mariner for a long, long time. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Friday, August 26th, and your Rangers are 57-67 heading into the weekend series against Detroit in Texas. A home series, going to be a wild parking lot tonight with a Cowboys preseason game going on there the same time as this Rangers game. But thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. And the best way you can help grow the show is to comment any single thing below. Now, let's start with a look ahead, a preview at this Detroit Tigers series. 3 games this weekend. The Rangers have not announced starters for 2 of their 3 games. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I don't know if it has to do with Josh Jung's call-up. It doesn't. It doesn't. But I'm not sure what they're going to do. We don't know anything more about John Gray coming back into the rotation, and I think that's the only real thing that would disrupt this rotation, unless they're going to call up Dallas Keuchel, which I don't see as a great move because I don't trust his numbers. I don't trust what he's done at the major league level this year. Sure, it's nice he's doing okay in AAA. That's fine. Have some depth for your round rock rotation, but I really don't think that his stuff is major league capable anymore. I think it's not time for the Rangers to go take a chance on that. And Kohei Arihara is coming off 2 pretty decent starts, so I'm not really sure why the Rangers haven't listed their official starters. But we do know the starter for tonight's game is going to be Glenn Otto versus Detroit's Tyler Alexander. Alexander has been a reliever for a decent chunk of the season, but has been starting for the last few games. Went 6 innings, allowed 3 runs against the Angels at home in a 4-3 win his last time out. Also had a start against the White Sox and Cleveland and Minnesota. He's gone at least 5 innings in his last 4 games, all starts. He has an ERA of 4.02. He's been solid, fine. Nothing too spectacular. He is a left-handed pitcher, so the Rangers will see Nathaniel Lowe feasting against lefties as he has done all season. He's actually got those reverse splits. We'll see if we can get a rare Marcus Semien home run at home, try and get him on a hot streak. Because again, those splits. He's also a local kid, by the way. Tyler Alexander went to South Lake Carroll High School, graduated from TCU, or I should say went to TCU. I'm not sure if he graduated, but he is a local kid, a former 2nd-round pick in 2015 out of TCU. Should be a fun matchup for the kid. This is his 4th MLB season, so it's not like his MLB debut, but always nice to have a start at home in your stadium that you allegedly, I think he grew up. I'm assuming he graduated from South Lake Carroll, so I'm assuming he grew up here. But should be a fun matchup for the Rangers on Friday. The Rangers have TBD versus Eduardo Rodriguez, who is back for them, has missed a decent chunk of the season. The Detroit Tigers have missed a lot in their rotation. They're missing a lot right now. Tariq Skubal is on the 60-day IL. He was the best pitcher. He has been consistently the best pitcher for them this season. Eduardo Rodriguez has not pitched a whole lot this year, only 9 starts. He's been injured for a decent chunk of the year. And Bo Brisky, who the Rangers saw the last time they faced off against this Tigers team, was a pretty solid starter for them, but Tariq Skubal is on the 60-day IL. They will not see him in this series. They will not see Bo Brisky. They also won't see Alex Faedo. They also won't see Michael Pineda. Like, there are a lot of starting pitchers on the IL for this team, and they are not a team that has necessarily hit very well at all. It's pretty much just been the Riley Green show. He made his debut against the Rangers, but even him, he hasn't been very consistent. The Tigers have nobody listed as their primary starter at their positions on Baseball Reference with an OPS over 700. Not a single player. That is a pretty darn stark indictment of how bad this offense is. Even Javi Baez, who there was some thought the Rangers might have might have a look into him. Out of the like 7 big uh, shortstop free agents, I was definitely the most skeptical about signing him. He is 29 years old. He has 11 homers in 109 games under his belt, on base of 266, slugging just 370, and yeah. That's not ideal. Even one of their top prospects, Spencer Torkelson, who is supposed to be this offensive juggernaut, has not done well at the major league level at 577 OPS. He is not on the big league club. He was sent down to the minors. Austin Meadows, who they traded for, thought would be able to bring some life to their offense. He is on the IL as well as Jonathan Scope. Like, this is just a team in shambles. Even Miguel Cabrera, he's 39 years old, and he's got 4 home runs in 98 games this year. Yeah, it is kind of sad to see Miguel Cabrera kind of going out like this, but this is not a team that the Rangers should be scared of. The Rangers completely squandered an opportunity to sweep this team. They should have done a lot better the last time they faced off against this Tigers team, and they really need to take advantage at this point. And on Sunday, the Rangers have TBD throwing versus Drew Hutchison. I'm thinking it's going to be some combination of maybe probably not Dane Dunning in the Sunday game. Maybe him. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it'll be Kohei Arihara. Maybe it will be Cole Ragans. Maybe they're thinking about making a move, taking Cole Ragans out of the starting rotation. I don't think that would be a wise move because there's not a whole lot of other guys that are really ready to come up. Like I just said, Dallas Keuchel, sending him down to bring up Dallas Keuchel, I think would be a stark indictment on this Ranger team. He's got 4 starts. He hasn't gone very deep in those starts, averaging a little over 4 innings per outing, 4.5, I think, is, if my math is right, 18.1 innings in 4 starts, a 4.42 ERA. He's been okay, not great. The strikeouts have been super not great. He has allowed 4 home runs in those 18 innings and walked 10 to just 9 strikeouts. That is not what you're looking for, but there's not a whole lot of other options, like I just said. But there is one guy that I'll talk about a little bit later that has started some games for the Rangers and is picking it back up. I'm not sure he's necessarily going to be a starter. Had a lot of injury issues, but he has definitely been very encouraging as of late, as well as another lefty who has also had some injury issues, who I thought might end up making his major league debut by the end of the year. Probably won't, but he is definitely in a better place right now than he was to start the season. We're going to get into the Julio Rodriguez contract, what it means for the Rangers, and why the Rangers should really, really be scared of this guy, because he has been so good and against them specifically. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action happening right now. BetOnline is where the game starts. Now, Julio Rodriguez, the star of the Seattle Mariners squad that is the darling of Major League Baseball right now, looking to break their 20-plus year playoff drought, has been since 2001, I believe, since they have made the playoffs. If my math is correct on that, that is over 20 years. I'm pretty sure I can do that math. It's not a whole lot. But Julio Rodriguez is going to stay in Seattle, or at least is going to have a contract in Seattle for a long, long time. This was breaking from Jesse Sanchez, I believe, was the first one to break any sort of news on this. Later details came out from the big guns in Jeff Passan and, of course, Ken Rosenthal over at The Athletic. But the deal is going to be a 14-year contract extension for a guaranteed $210 million with the ability to grow to over $400 million. It includes both player and team options. It is going to be very, very complicated. Yeah, it was Jesse Sanchez, who is with MLB.com, that was the one to break this news initially. Congratulations to him on this big breaking news. Congratulations to Seattle for signing their star in the long term for a sports town that just lost their QB1 that brought them some Super Bowls. I know this will bring them a lot of joy, especially since they don't have a whole lot else. They lost the Sonics. They just got a hockey team that is bad, but the Mariners are pretty much their only hope at this point, unless they're also big soccer fans. But this is a big deal for Seattle, and it's a big deal for the Rangers. This is a guy who was a number one overall prospect in all of baseball, according to some sites. He was just incredible. And some of the scouts that I talked to said this is the most advanced bat they ever really scouted. He's still 21 years old. He doesn't turn 22 until December 29th. Yeah, that's right. Until December 29th, he is already an all-star. He is already a member of the 2020 club. He is a 4.3 baseball reference WAR player through 420 at-bats on the season. Only played in 108 games. Has had a little bit of injury issues this year that have kept him out of some games, but he has got a slash under 269, 328, 471. That's an OPS of literally 1 point below 800. But against the Rangers, he has done some damage. He has had some key home runs against Texas. I'm trying to scroll down to find his splits against the squad, but there have already been some memorable moments against the Rangers. As soon as one Ranger killer retired in Kyle Seager, another was born. Another came up in his place when K. Chris Davis left. Someone else will be spawned in his place. I believe Sean Murphy is the new A's Rangers killer on the Angels. It is obviously Ohtani and Mike Trout. You don't really need anything else. And on Houston, it's pretty much anybody on that stupid club, which is quite frustrating. But against the Rangers, he doesn't have some insane splits, but he already has 3 home runs against the Rangers, the most against any team that he has played so far. Tied with he does have 5 against the A's. He does have let's see, where'd we go? He has 3 against the Angels and 3 against the Rangers. So he is already crushing this Rangers squad. A 753 OPS in 15 games against Texas so far this season. I think the Rangers play them at least once more, so we might end up seeing even more homers against the Rangers because this Julio Rodriguez kid is fantastic. You look at some of his advanced numbers, and he is just crushing it. His average exit velo is in the top 10% of baseball at 92nd percentile. Max exit velo, the top 4% of baseball. Hard hit percentage, top 6% of baseball. His sprint speed, he's in the top 3% of the fastest players. He's hitting the ball hard. He is so incredibly strong and so incredibly fast. That's why he's playing the outfield. I didn't think he was going to be a center fielder long term, but it ends up he might be that for the next 5 years or so, and then he moves over to right field and continues to crush it as he fills out and hits for even more power. Which imagine he's only 21 years old, and imagine what he's going to be like when he develops into his fully filled out body. Not that he really needs to add any more, muscle or bulk or whatever, because he is playing elite center field defense. I mean, you look at some of those advanced numbers, he's outs above average in center field, is in the 91st percentile. His jump is in the top half of baseball, and you can make up with that with the sprint speed in the top 3% of baseball. Like that's a scary freaking player. And the Rangers are going to have to play against that for a long, long time. And I know Rangers fans should probably be rejoicing. I know I am, that there are going to be fewer divisional games next year and moving forward to accommodate that schedule where every team plays every team every year. And I like that because it means fewer games against the Astros and fewer games against this Mariners squad and fewer games against the Angels, who might be getting a new owner. In case you missed that, Artie Moreno, the most hands-on owner in all of Major League Baseball, is considering a sale of the team, which for Angels fans means rejoicing. Yay, let's get that owner out who has done nothing but meddle for years and years and years, and has wasted the prime of Mike Trout. Most of the prime of Mike Trout is wasting the prime of Shohei Ohtani, a legendary baseball figure who is doing things that have never even been contemplated in the history of Major League Baseball or any baseball anywhere, of how good he has been. And he might end up losing one or hopefully both of them because they've never been able to develop a top 10 farm system in the past, 10 years and gotten anywhere close. It's been absolutely bonkers how bad they've been. Even when they've spent in the wrong places and have only gotten one playoff series for Mike Trout in his 12 years of Major League Baseball at this point. Kind of insane, kind of hilarious as fans of a rival team, but this Julio Rodriguez guy is going to continue to be better. He has already been so good on a Mariners team that is just frustratingly good. I was looking at some of their numbers because their offense was struggling. It had been struggling all year, and they did bring in a starting pitcher. They already had a decent starting rotation. They had Robbie Ray, the reigning Cy Young winner, they had George Kirby, who's a youngster who's performing really well. Logan Gilbert, who's performing pretty well. Marco Gonzalez, Chris Flexen, as your kind of 4 and 5 guys who are also doing decently well. And they bring in Luis Castillo, and he has been crushing it in his 4 starts for them with 3.16 ERA. And then their lineup, I thought, okay, well, they need a little bit more help. Well, you know what? Turns out they don't. They got Cal Raleigh, who has been crushing it in 92 games this year at the catching position, 18 home runs, which I believe leads all American League catchers. It definitely leads Jonah Heim, who was leading them at the All-Star break. And I don't know if Jonah's had more than 1 home run since that All-Star break. The power is kind of dried up a little bit for him. But Ty France should have been an all-star if he wasn't this year. I think he just made it. JP Crawford has been fairly consistent for them. Eugenio Suarez, who they got for pennies on the dollar, continues to mash home runs and has the most home runs in Major League Baseball since 2018. And they got him and Jesse Winker for pennies on the freaking dollar. And their entire lineup outside of second base and DH, according to Baseball Reference, has an OPS plus of at least, let's see, JP Crawford's at 103. So outside of shortstop, second base, and their primary DH at this point, which is listed as Abraham Toro, which is actually more of Sam Haggerty or Dylan Moore or Mitch Haniger, all those guys have OPS pluses above at least 10% above league average, at least 110 for every single position. And they have a nasty bullpen, and they have a nasty starting rotation. This is going to be a team that will contend with the Astros. They will probably be the ones to knock the Astros off their perch and keep them from a decade of winning the AL West straight, which, might end up being the only thing, unless the Rangers, depending on how good the Rangers can be next year, because that Astros team is really good, but this Mariners team is also going to be really good. And good for the Mariners for signing their star to a long-term deal. Good for Julio Rodriguez for securing a bag. But Rangers fans are rightfully terrified because this guy is going to terrorize this Texas team for years and years to come. Coming up, we're going to look at Josh Jung, why he's not already in the big leagues, and a couple other minor league pitchers who definitely deserve some shout outs for some of the stuff that they have been doing as of late. But first, this word from our sponsors. Now, I want to start with the guys who are not Josh Jung, because once I get talking about Josh Jung, I will probably continue talking until the Rangers announce that he is being called up, probably in the middle of me recording this episode or literally seconds before I end up posting it. But Cody Bradford is a guy who I think is definitely a name worth mentioning. He is an Alito kid who went to Baylor, had shoulder surgery on his pitching left shoulder. The 6'4", 197, 24-year-old lefty is having a renaissance late in the season. The month of August has been fantastic for him. For most of the season, it has been a bit of a slog for him, but his last 4 starts, I feel like he's figured something out. He's got a 1.52 ERA in 4 starts in the month of August, 23 and 2/3 innings, 30 strikeouts, just 3 walks. 1 walk in 3 of his 4 starts, and that's it. That's it. Only 1 home run as well. This guy has been the crafty lefty that the Rangers imagined he could be. I kind of think that he can throw a little bit harder than he does. There's room there to add a little bit of velocity, but he is 24 years old, so maybe he just is what he is at this point. He's got 4 pitches. He knows how to pitch. He knows how to pitch to contact. He knows how to make hitters get themselves out. Those guys are valuable. He is missing bats as well. He had 8 strikeouts in his most recent start, 6 innings of 1-run ball against the Wind Surge, which is the Twins AA affiliate, the Wichita Wind Surge, if you will. At Corpus Christi, he went 5 2/3 innings, only allowed 1 run, and struck out 7. Against San Antonio at home, he dominated those hitters, only allowed 3 hits, not a single run, not a single walk, hit by pitch, none of that stuff. 9 strikeouts in that outing. And then against Amarillo at home, 5 innings of 2-run ball where he only walked 1 and struck out 6. Something is changing with him. He has figured something out. I'm not sure what it is. I kind of wish that I had been able to go out there and see him last night, but I'm going to try and catch him at least one time at home by the end of the season. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I really liked what I saw from him last year. He's missed some time again with that shoulder surgery, which is why he was able to fall all the way to the 6th round. He probably would have been a top 3-round pick. He was dominating at Baylor. The shoulder surgery scared some teams off, but the Rangers were not scared. He had a 4.11 ERA in 20 starts last year. His first professional appearance had 128 strikeouts in 96 and a third innings, which was really positive and encouraging for a guy who spent time between Hickory, and AA, and doesn't have the most dominating, 95-mile-an-hour crazy breaking ball stuff. He just knows how to pitch, and he knows when to throw his pitches and what he throws and how to make the most of it. And that is sometimes more valuable than the most raw stuff in the world. But speaking of the most raw stuff in the world, Emiliano Teodo is a guy who I said you needed to keep a little bit of an eye on early in the season. And he is really, really living up to that. Last night, he had one of the weirder lines that I've seen in a game. He struck out 11 in 4 innings, did not allow a hit, and he even had a 4 strikeout inning. But he also walked quite a few, did not really know where his stuff was going, which is kind of a theme with him. 4 innings, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 hit by pitch, which is a nice thing for him, but also walked 3, struck out 11. He also had another double-digit strikeout game earlier this month where he only walked 1, 5 innings of shutout ball, did not allow a hit either. The one walk was the only base runner that he allowed in those 5 innings against FBG. I'm not exactly sure who those are. Let's see, look those up real quick. The Fredericksburg Nationals. Yeah, only 1 walk in 10 strikeouts in that outing. His last outing, 2 runs, 4 innings, 6 strikeouts. The outing before, 4 2/3 innings, only 1 walk and 8 strikeouts. The guy has been a strikeout machine, has a fastball that sits in the upper 90s, has touched 102 miles an hour on the season. He's got 20 games under his belt. 15 of those are starts, 76 innings, and 104 strikeouts. That's pretty darn impressive. Does have 36 walks, so something that he definitely needs to work on, figure out that fastball command. He's got a changeup, which sits in the 90s, about 89 to 92, I think, and the curveball, which is also a potential plus pitch. They might end up fast tracking him to the big leagues as a reliever if he can't figure out this walk problem. But even if they do, I mean, he's starting and he has touched 102. Imagine what happens when they throw him in the pen. That's going to be absolutely disgusting. And he's only 6'1", 165 pounds. So him being able to throw like this is pretty impressive. He is still pretty young, 21 years old in low A. I think they might promote him next year. The numbers overall have been pretty good, but if the walks are this bad in low A, they're probably going to be even worse in high A. Maybe that might be when they transition him to the bullpen. But a really weird outing that I thought was definitely worth mentioning and a good outing for him. One last guy that I want to mention is Kyle Cody, who had a really nice night for the Round Rock Express, which I was looking at the box score, seeing what was happening with the Josh Jung show. And Kyle Cody started this one. He went 3 innings, only allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, and struck out 6. And I looked at his ERA, 270. Thought, okay. There's a guy who I thought could be maybe in the Rangers rotation. He was a bright spot at the end of 2020 when the Rangers really needed it. He has had a lot of injury problems. You look at his minor league career and you see the seasons listed: 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2022. He missed 2019 and 2021. Has a 1.56 ERA so far in 11 games this year. In the minors, that has been split between the AZL, where he had 8 games there. He's been in Round Rock for 3 games. 2 of those have been starts for Round Rock, a 2.70 ERA in Round Rock, 6 2/3 innings, has allowed 2 earned runs, 1 homer, and 9 strikeouts in just under 7 innings, and only walked 2. That is encouraging and a good sign for him. He is the tall mountain of a man. I'm not sure exactly what the velo is on his stuff, but he is 28 years old. He's 6'7", 225 pounds. I think the Rangers might end up taking a look at him next year in the pen. I don't know if he can stay healthy enough to be a starter to be counted on for that workload. Obviously, being 6'7", he has the frame for it, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hold up with all of the many, many injuries that he's sustained. But when he is on the mound, he has shown that he can be capable. He has had some decent success at the major league level, a 3.71 ERA in 34 major league innings. That'll play. And I think him in the bullpen might be the way he ends up making a contribution at the major league level. But it's time to talk about Josh Jung. It is past due time to talk about Josh Jung. It is always time, in my opinion, to talk about Josh Jung. And don't worry about my little Texas Tech shirt. That's definitely not not influencing my bias of how much I enjoy watching old Joshua Jung play baseball. He DH last night for Frisco, or for Round Rock, against the Albuquerque Isotopes in a 9-4 win. He went 1 for 5 with no strikeouts, a single, a run batted in, and a run scored. left 2 on base. Oh no, might as well cut him. What a terrible performance. But for his standards, what he has done this year, that has pretty much been the case. Tony Beasley had something to say about him on, I believe it was Wednesday, about why he has not been called up. He said, quote, I know he's killing it offensively, but he still has less than 100 at-bats, which I think is talking about this year, Beasley said. The defensive side comes into play as well. The throws, the plays, has he had diving plays? Has he went through everything it takes to play here every day? When the time is right and we feel like everything lines up, then he'll be here. The time is right. The time has been right. The time is now. The time is yesterday. The time is maybe not a week ago, but it's time now. The Rangers have a home series against the Tigers. They need to call him up. They have a spot in their lineup. We've seen what Josh Jung can do offensively. He's hit balls to left, right, and center, literally left, right, and center all the way out. He's got 6 home runs in 13 games at the AAA level this year, and he crushed it as well at the rookie league when he was literally just coming back from a shoulder surgery. In his minor league career, this is the only concern. This is the only concern because he's had those 2 seasons worth of injuries, and he didn't play that many games in 2019 after he was drafted. And then we had the pandemic season in 2020. So he hasn't really played all that much at the minor league level. But you look at his overall numbers for his minor league career. Over those 3 seasons, he has 143 games under his belt, 558 plate appearances, 41 doubles, 2 triples, 30 home runs, 56 walks to 125 strikeouts, a slash line of 319, 391, 561. This guy is ready. He has been ready. He offensively is ready. If he's not ready defensively, then put him in there at DH. There is room there. If you're going to put Nathaniel Lowe at first base and you're going to have Zeke Duran at third base, then fine. You have room for an everyday third baseman. You know that he knows how to play the position passively. I think he can play it passively at a major league level. He's played a little bit at first base. He's played a little bit at DH. I don't think they're going to throw him out there in left field, even though there is a spot available there. But the guy's ready. If he's not ready defensively, if that's the only question that you have, then call him up and put him at DH until you know he's ready to play the field every day. The bat is not gaining anything by facing these AAA players. He has done it against rehabbing major leaguers. He has done it against high prospects. He has done it at AA, at high A, at AAA, in the ACL. He did it at Texas Tech. The man is freaking ready. This is the most exciting thing you have coming up. You might as well do it against this Tigers team because, I'm sure the tickets are not going to be very expensive. There's not a whole lot else to draw them this weekend. You have not announced starters for the end of this series. You're not going to have Martin Perez on the hill. You're not going to have John Gray on the hill this weekend. I'm pretty darn sure. So, you might as well just call him up. You also got a home series against the Astros next week. I don't think you want to do that to him. That would be a little rude. Then you got a week on the road against Boston, against the Astros. You're telling me you want him to make his major league debut on the road, or you want to wait all the way to September 9th. That is the next home game that the Rangers have. By that point, it'll be another two weeks. Yes, 2 weeks. Math is hard on calendars. But yes, 2 weeks. You tell me he needs another 2 weeks to figure out that he's major league ready, or you want to throw him in to the Sharks against the Astros as his first major league game? That's not nice. He might end up facing Justin Verlander for his first major league game, which I think he can handle, but it's also just not nice. You might want to give him a couple games under his belt, face off against the Tigers, who are not a good team, have a reason to draw people to the ballpark on a weekend, jack up the prices, even though it's going to be a little bit of a hassle to get Rangers fans there on a night where the Cowboys are playing literally right across the street. But just go ahead and do it. Call them up. Do it now while I'm recording this podcast or while I'm uploading it and editing it. Make me look like an idiot. Please make me look like an idiot, Rangers. You have done it so many times when I have not asked you to, when I've asked you specifically to not do that. Just go ahead and do it now. What's one more time? Call up Josh Jung today. Call him up tomorrow. Call him up Sunday. But call him up as soon as you possibly can because he has been ready and you are just embarrassing yourself and you're making him wait way too long for a thing that everybody is desperately waiting for. Josh Jung and the Rangers major leaguers most definitely included. That's going to do it for today's shows. I'll be back on Monday to hopefully talk about a wonderful Josh Jung major league debut. Maybe I won't be. Who knows at that point? Who knows what will happen this weekend? But it should be a fun weekend of baseball. The Rangers coming off a 4-2 road trip. Things are looking up. Things are looking nice. Even though Julio Rodriguez is going to be terrorizing this Rangers squad for the next few years, the Rangers might have their own terror in Josh Jung, ready to terrorize those Mariners and Astros and everybody else right back if they can get off their butts and pick up the phone and bring him up to Arlington. That'll do it for this week. Now, for your next listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully. He is a walking baseball encyclopedia about the past, present, and maybe even the future. Go check it out. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. That'll do it for today's show. Until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.